When darkness had just descended upon the city, the old tower in its heart suddenly became gloomier and more terrifying than ever. Lynn and Minnie had heard countless stories about this tower, about a strange elevator hidden within it, a place said to be the gateway to the most chilling things. They said that once you entered this elevator, strange things would start to happen. Each time the doors opened, you would be facing a different world, a haunted floor filled with eerie and mysterious entities. Lynn held Minnie's hand, their eyes shining with both fear and excitement as they stood in front of the old elevator doors. The flickering light from the ceiling bulb cast an unsettling, blinking glow, as if warning them of a journey that was not for the faint-hearted. "Lynn, I heard that this elevator, it's haunted," Minnie whispered, her voice trembling. Lynn chuckled softly, though he felt a slight shiver himself. "Just like in a horror movie," he replied, though his eyes betrayed a trace of worry. Then, without hesitation, they stepped inside. As the elevator doors slowly closed, it felt as though something invisible was gradually surrounding them, smothering any hope of escape. Lynn and Minnie stood close together, feeling each other's quickened breath in the cramped, oppressive space that seemed to close in on them. The first floor, the first time the doors opened. A ding sounded, and the elevator doors slowly slid open. Beyond the doors was a pitch-black hallway, illuminated only by the faint flicker of old oil lamps. A shadowy figure, or rather the silhouette of an eerie entity, hovered before them. It was a zombie, its body twisted in ways no one could imagine. It stared at Lynn and Minnie with blood-red eyes, as if it wanted to devour their very souls. Minnie screamed, pulling back and clinging tightly to Lynn, but the zombie merely swayed slowly, inching closer. "No, Minnie, don't let it get near us," Lynn shouted, and in a moment of terror, he quickly pressed the closed door button. The elevator doors shut swiftly, leaving the two of them panting, hearts racing wildly. The feeling of facing a zombie like this was perhaps the worst nightmare for anyone. It wasn't just the fear of horrific images. It was the gut-wrenching terror of facing death or things beyond control. A zombie, in some way, represents an unnatural death, a death that never found peace, haunting those who stumble upon it. The second floor, the dancing skeleton. The elevator continued to rise, and eerie music echoed through the small speaker on the ceiling, intensifying the chilling atmosphere of their journey. Ding! Once again, the elevator door slid open, but this time, Lynn and Minnie were met with an even stranger sight, a skeleton dancing. Its movements were both bizarre and amusing, as if it was trying to tease their fears. Each step of the skeleton made a clattering sound that echoed through the empty space of the floor. It looked at them with deep eye sockets that somehow held a mischievous glint. Minnie let out a nervous giggle, though fear was still evident in her laugh. "Lynn, do you think it's trying to tell us something?" she whispered. Lynn shrugged, trying to appear calm. "Maybe it just wants to play, but we don't have time for this." He quickly pressed the closed door button, and the elevator continued its journey to the next floor. The image of the dancing skeleton was actually quite fascinating. It wasn't just a typical horrifying sight, but held a bit of humor and familiarity, as if to suggest that death isn't always terrifying. Dancing skeletons might remind us that sometimes our fears stem from the unknown of what awaits after death. The third floor, the witch and the chilling gaze. The elevator doors opened once more, and a thick mist seeped in like the smoke from extinguished candles. This time, Lynn and Minnie faced a peculiar sight. An old witch, her wrinkled face and bright, glowing eyes resembling two blazing coals. The witch stood before them, a sinister smile curling her lips, revealing sharp, pointed teeth. Her broomstick, the legendary tool of every witch, was stained with dark, dried blood, causing Minnie to shudder. "Lynn, let's get out of here." She tightened her grip on Lynn's hand, trying to suppress the fear bubbling up in her voice. Lynn took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the witch. "Don't worry, as long as we don't say anything, she won't pay us any attention." But before he could finish, the witch lifted her broom and approached them with a threatening gaze. Lynn quickly pressed the closed door button, and they were safely inside once again. Figures like witches often symbolize darkness and power. In horror stories, Witches represent things that cannot be explained by ordinary logic. The witch's presence reminded them that on every journey through fear, there are always challenges of courage and wisdom. Perhaps not every fear can be faced directly. Sometimes the best choice is to steer clear of them when possible. The fourth floor, the whispering ghost. The elevator ascended once more, the atmosphere growing colder and heavier, as if it were trying to suffocate them. A ding echoed, signaling that the elevator had arrived at the next floor. As the doors slowly opened, a chilling sensation ran down Lynn and Minnie's spines. Before them stretched an empty corridor, but strangely, whispers floated through the air. The whispers sounded like distant voices, sometimes close, sometimes far away, enchanting the listener. Suddenly, a white figure materialized, hovering and slowly advancing towards the elevator. Its eyes were cloudy and soulless, and its hands reached out as if trying to pull them into an endless abyss. Minnie stepped back, her face pale. "Lynn, I can't take it anymore, please. Let's get out of here," she stammered. Lynn said nothing, quickly pressing the button to close the doors, his hands trembling just as much as Minnie's. The doors slammed shut, leaving the tortured spirit behind in the darkness. Ghosts often represent souls that cannot find peace, trapped in the anguish and haunting of this world. The specter of the deceased always sends chills down our spines because it serves as a reminder that death is not always a peaceful end. Lynn and Minnie's actions prompt us to reflect on confronting the hauntings of the past. Sometimes pains, regrets, or old mistakes return to haunt us like a ghost, making it difficult to escape their grasp. The fifth floor, the horrifying bat swarm. This time, as the elevator doors opened, a deafening sound tore through the silence, the shrill cries of bats echoing from the darkness. A large swarm of bats flapped their wings, creating a strong gust of wind that rushed into the elevator. The bats, with their glowing red eyes, swooped and soared, their jet-black wings sharp and spiky like blades. They flew close to Lynn and Minnie, forcing them to duck and dodge. "Minnie, don't panic," Lynn shouted, trying to reassure her, but he was struggling to control his own fear as well. Finally, they managed to close the doors, but the image of the bat swarm filling the sky lingered in their minds, impossible to erase. Bats are creatures associated with darkness and death in horror culture, representing mystery and danger in the night. The swarm of bats on this floor is not just a physical challenge, but also a metaphor for the overwhelming difficulties in life. Sometimes, we may feel surrounded by challenges and pressures from all sides. Just like facing that swarm of bats, if we can stay calm and bravely move forward, we can overcome anything. The sixth floor, the skeleton sleeping on the bed. The music played once more as the elevator reached the next floor. When the doors opened, a bizarre sight greeted them. A large bed placed in the center of the room, and on the bed lay a skeleton seemingly asleep. This skeleton was unlike any other. It appeared to be sinking into a peaceful slumber, yet each movement it made produced a haunting crackle. Lynn and Minnie exchanged surprised glances. Could it be that this skeleton feels tired and needs to rest too? Minnie asked, her expression a mix of fear and curiosity. Lynn shrugged, trying to mask his own fear. Maybe it just wants to remind us that sometimes even death needs a peaceful sleep. The skeleton lying on the bed may symbolize the idea that everything in life needs rest and time to recover, even those things that once frightened us. Sometimes, our fears are merely remnants of past traumas, and they too need time to rest in our memories, no longer haunting us. The seventh floor, the abbot ghost. The music played once again as the elevator ascended to the seventh floor. The doors opened, revealing a ghost dressed as an abbot standing before them. With a chilling smile on its face, the ghost opened its arms wide, as if to welcome them into a bizarre ceremony. Lynn took a small step back, but Minnie appeared captivated by the ghost's powerful gaze. "Lynn, look, he seems to be waiting for us to do something," Minnie whispered. "No, Minnie, we can't step out of here. This door isn't meant for us." But Lynn's words felt futile as the abbot ghost moved closer, chanting echoing around them. Lynn quickly pressed the button to close the doors, and once again, the elevator doors slowly began to shut. The abbot ghost is another symbol of power and spiritual guidance. In many cultures, an abbot is seen as someone who can communicate with the spirit world. The image of the abbot ghost serves as a reminder that sometimes we must confront the conflict between faith and fear, and it's not always easy to choose the right path. The 8th floor, the vengeful monster. As the elevator ascended to the 8th floor, the atmosphere grew more suffocating than ever. The doors opened to reveal a dark space with dim light illuminating the image of a fierce monster, muscles rippling and eyes glowing like fire. The monster stood right in the middle of the hallway, glaring at Lynn and Minnie with a fury that suggested they had invaded its territory. "We shouldn't be here," Minnie exclaimed, gripping Lynn's hand tighter. She looked at him with a terrified expression, but neither of them seemed able to take their eyes off the monster. Lynn tried to regain his composure, whispering, "Don't let it know we're scared. This is just another challenge." Suddenly, the monster advanced toward them, each step resonating like thunder, its hands reaching out as if to grab them. Lynn quickly pressed the button to close the doors, and they both sighed in relief as the monster was left behind. The monster symbolizes the rage and anger, emotions that we sometimes hide deep within ourselves until they rise up and become something even we can't recognize. It serves as a reminder that in order to prevent negative emotions from turning into a monster in our minds, we sometimes need to learn how to confront and release them rather than avoid them. The 9th floor, a room full of dim lights. The elevator doors opened once again, and this time, Lynn and Minnie found themselves facing a small room filled with flickering dim lights hanging from the ceiling. The lights seemed to malfunction, blinking in waves, creating an eerie and ambiguous atmosphere. In the weak light, Lynn noticed figures appearing and then disappearing, like souls trapped in the cycle of reincarnation. Each figure seemed to want to say something, but couldn't find their voice. Minnie looked at the scene before her and whispered, "Lynn, these souls, they're searching for something. Could it be that they haven't found peace?" Lynn nodded, his eyes fixed on the blinking lights, lost in thought. Perhaps they are seeking liberation. They quickly left this floor, but the flickering light and the ghostly figures lingered in their minds, a reminder that everyone needs to find a final resting place. The ghosts and the dim lights symbolize souls still attached to the earthly realm, unable to transcend. This serves as a reminder that if we carry too many regrets and sorrows, we may forever be trapped in the past, unable to find peace. To live a tranquil life, sometimes it is essential to let go of our suffering and move forward. The 10th floor, the final door, and the unveiled secret. Finally, the elevator slowly reached the last floor. Both Lynn and Minnie sighed in relief, thinking that perhaps the trials had come to an end. However, when the doors opened, the surroundings changed in a strange way. Before them was an empty room, yet it exuded a sense of peace, a stark contrast to the previous floors. Gone were the eerie sights and darkness. Instead, a gentle light enveloped everything. Lynn and Minnie stepped into the room and suddenly noticed a large mirror on the wall. In the mirror, there were no images of monsters, only reflections of themselves, Lynn and Minnie. But something was different. The reflected images showed them with serene and tranquil faces, as if they had found answers to all their questions. Minnie whispered, "Lynn, perhaps everything we just went through wasn't about ghosts or monsters, but about ourselves. Those haunted floors were parts of our inner selves, our fears, our anger, our regrets." Lynn nodded, his eyes still fixed on the reflection. This journey was likely to confront the darker aspects of our hearts, to understand and accept, and then to find peace. The room brightened, signaling that their journey had come to an end. As they turned to step back into the elevator, the light flared up and a sense of relief washed over them. The elevator took them down, and when the doors opened, they returned to the real world, where the haunted floors were now just a distant memory, yet an unforgettable experience. This story is not only about a haunted tower, but also about Lynn and Minnie's journey of self-discovery. Each floor represents an aspect of the soul, from fear, anger, and suffering to regret. By facing each floor, They not only uncovered horrifying truths, but also learned to accept and understand themselves more deeply. The haunted floors also serve as a reminder of the value of courage and patience. Sometimes, to find peace, we must confront the dark parts within ourselves. The story concludes with the image of the two protagonists finding tranquility, conveying a message of always holding on to faith and the courage to overcome all challenges in life. If you enjoy our content and want to make sure you don't miss any videos, please hit the subscribe button now. Follow the channel to explore more exciting things with us. Thank you for your support.